This is 1.3 linear equations with word problems. Just quickly, you may need to pause the video. The first couple slides are basically things that you just need to read over and be familiar. Like here, this first page that you see is just a reminder page. Like these are all the different words that stand for addition. Like if you see the word sum, that means to add. Same thing with difference, means to subtract. Product means, so these are all possible words for multiplication, and then division. So just pause the video and look at that just for a moment. And then the next couple pages, these are just common formulas that you have seen before. So a literal equation is an equation that contains more than one variable. So like this is perimeter. You should recognize that formula, but it has more than one variable. So that's a literal equation. And so we're going to be using some of these formulas even on the next page that you need to be familiar with in any of these problems that we're going to be doing. So here's an example. Like if I had this and I wanted you to look at that expression and I wanted you to translate that. So here you might say something like the difference and 10. Again, the word difference means to subtract, so you're subtracting m and 10. You can actually just say m minus 10. I mean, there's different ways you can say that, but you just write it and translate it. If you see a subtraction sign, then go back to your keywords. What's one way I can say it? Now, this one right here, sometimes students miss this one, because a lot of times students will say x plus 7 divided by 3. And really, I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, but notice if you go back and read what you wrote, like what this student's saying, they're saying x plus 7 divided by 3. And see, what they wrote is not what they meant. So you got to make sure when you write the expression, go back and read it to make sure you actually say it correctly, that you're writing it correctly. So there's a couple ways you can do it. The easiest way to, well, one of the easiest ways, they often write the sum of x plus 7. So the sum of x plus 7 is right there, and then divided by 3. So that's a very popular way to say it. And then again, this one's a difference problem, so the difference of 4 and x squared. Again, that's just one possible way to say it, using all those key words. So here, let's go backwards. So this is, I write the words, and you have to write the expression. So this is the sum, so that means I'm adding two things, two consecutive natural numbers. So I'm not looking, consecutive means one after the other, like 5 and 6, or 20 and 21. So I don't know what they are, so the first one's going to be x, and then what is the next number? The next consecutive number would be x plus 1. Because again, whatever, like 6 and 7. So one is 6, and then the other one is 1 more than that. So here is two consecutive natural numbers. The next one says the product, so I'm multiplying two numbers. I don't know what the first one is. And then the next consecutive odd integer, odd numbers count by 2, like 5, 7, 9, 11. See, they count by 2. So this is your second number. This is your first, this is your second. All right, 30%, you could write it as literally 30%, or you could have written it as 30 out of 100, or 0.3. I don't care how you write that, but write it as a percent, fraction, or decimal, the word of, and then times L. So just 30% times L. Times L. Times L. So that's all you really had to do on that one. All right, so let's look at our first word problem. So this one you might want to, like, after I'm done with it, like erase it and go through it again and make sure you understand the whole concept. So here I have $10,000 and I want to invest it in two accounts. So I'm going to invest it in this account, let's call it X, and this is at 4.5%. This one is at 5.5%. And this is something you got to think about, like how much did he invest? Like if I invest $2,000, let's say I invest $2,000 here. I don't know how much they invest, but if they did invest $2,000, that means to get this amount, that means I would have taken $10,000 minus $2,000, and that would be $8,000. If I invest $7,000 here, then it's $10,000 minus $7,000, and then you would get $3,000. I don't know the amount though. So whatever this is, it's x. I'm going to take 10,000 minus x. And that's the second amount, how much I'm doing that. Well, one of the formulas you should recognize is I equals PRT. You can go back to that formula sheet and look at that, but that's one of the formulas. Time is 1 year, so that makes life very easy. Also, the two accounts together will equal $508. So here's the idea. The interest of account X, so the interest from account X plus the interest from the second account, so this is your second account, I'm just going to put a 2 there, will equal $508.75. And remember, interest is principal times rate times time. So I'm basically going to multiply these two numbers. That's the principal times the rate, and the time is just 1 year. Okay, so this is going to be 0.045 times x. This is going to be 0.055 times 10,000 minus x. And again, all I did was multiply principal times rate. I multiplied those two numbers and these two numbers, principal times rate. I'm going to use the distributive property. Oops, no point. And I'm going to solve for x. Let's see, 9 and 25, 49, 21. All right. So once you solve that, so now I know the amount that I invested in the X account, $4,125, and then you just take 10,000 minus X to get the second amount. And that's how much you invested in each account. All right, this one right here, you know the volume of a cylinder, pi r squared h. And I know the volume is 200. It says that right there. The radius is 5, so 25 pi h. And then we're just going to divide by 25 pi. And then just plug that into your calculator. And it doesn't say, but typically we would want to round to 2 decimal places. So just plug this into your calculator and round it to 2 decimal places, and you're going to have your answer. And by the way, make sure you use the pi symbol on your calculator. Don't use 3.14. Remember, 3.14 is a rounded decimal, close to pi, but make sure you actually plug in pi to your calculator. All right, so this one right here, you've done plenty of these problems in geometry. You have a building that has a sun that casts a shadow, and the shadow is 80 feet. And you place a 3-foot wooden stake, and that also makes a shadow. And so the shadow here is, and we got to be careful about this, this is very important. Notice everything is in feet, 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 feet. And then so even though I gave this to you in 6 inches, we're going to say the shadow is 1/2 of a foot. So this, the shadow that it's saying is 1/2 a foot. This is 80 foot. This is 3 foot. Everything's in a measurement. And then it wants to know how tall the building is. So you're going to set up a proportion. So we have x over 80 is a 3 over 1/2. That's how you set it up. Remember, setting it up is going to give you partial credit. So set that up, and then all you have to do is cross multiply. So 1/2 times x equals 240, and then x equals 400. So the building is 480 feet. On this problem right here, you have 4 tests. Now, I do want to point out to you, it does give you 3 tests. So 87 plus 92 plus 84, and plus some other number and we're going to divide that by 4. That's how you find the average, right? You add them up, divide by 4. And then the average, in this case, they want to get an average of 90. Now, the problem with this thing is, notice the final exam is worth twice as much. So instead of doing plus x, we're actually going to do it twice because it's worth twice the value as any other test grade, which means there's actually 5 scores. So you need to pause the video and make sure you understand, like, why did he write x twice? Make sure you understand why we're doing that. Even though it says 4 tests, there's actually 5 grades that we're going to have because this one has a weight that's twice as much. So then you're just going to solve for x, add these 3 numbers up, subtract it. Actually, first thing, I'll get rid of the divide by 5. So I'm going to multiply by 5 to begin with. And that's 450. So then you have 87 plus 92 plus 84. That's 263 plus 2x, and then 2x, 187. And then when you divide by 2, you're going to get 93.5. So the person must score an 83.5% on the final exam to be able to end up with an A in the course. And then finally, the average daily temperature. This is a Celsius to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit to Celsius. If you go back and look at the formulas I gave you, you have 2 formulas right here, converting Fahrenheit to Celsius and Celsius to Fahrenheit. So the average daily temperature was 64.4 degrees. We want to know the Celsius temperature. So we're going to use this formula, 5 nights. And then the Fahrenheit is 64.4. So we're using this formula right here. So 64.4 minus 32. And then you're just going to plug that into the calculator to get 18 degrees Celsius. So 18 degrees Celsius is the same as 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you can convert it the other way. So here I had 45 degrees Celsius, and so if we wanted to convert it to Fahrenheit, so Fahrenheit equals 9/5 times the C, that's the C temperature, and then plus 32. Again, I'm using this top formula here. Let's see, 5 goes into 45 9 times, and 81. That is 1.3 linear equations.